So next on our speaker list, I think most people know Pawel, but I'll introduce him nevertheless. Please welcome Mr. Pawel Warszycki, the Executive Director of Hero, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Hero. And Pawel will be talking upon liquid energy addressing micro and nanoscale bio-LNG markets. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me go a bit deeper in what we are doing and why we are doing this. Okay, Justin, please check my, the time. Because I can, as every lecturer at the university, I can speak about everything. The main aspect is 45 minutes. So, no, but just to briefly explain why we are doing this and go a bit deeper. So the whole story started about 8 years ago. As a Hanseatic Institute for Entrepreneurship and Regional Development at the University of Rostock, we have started a project here, on the regional level, in the front of changing law for subventions for biogas plants. And about 8 years ago, there was a starting phase of talking about LNG. In Germany it was not a topic at all because of so well developed infrastructure and also reliable in this time. Nowadays, now we know that it was not gas supply from Russia. But in the same time, Germany was and is very focused on renewable energy, and biogas was and is one of the main pillars for German renewable energy market. Now we know that also not for Germany but also for the whole Europe, biogas is one of the main important elements. And 8 years ago we have started thinking about what to do with the biogas plants. Because we knew that there will be a change of the subvention system, and many of the biogas plants will face a huge challenge and maybe will not survive. Because at this moment biogas was the most expensive energy source. So we have started with asking a question. Okay, we know that there is LNG, minus 163 degrees, 600 more energy density in the same amount. And actually LNG is a natural gas, and biogas is also, natural gas is methane, and biogas is also methane. And 8 years ago, there were first companies like Cryopur, like Wärtsilä, coming to the market with the technology dedicated to the biogas plants to upgrade and liquefy biogas. Methane is methane, more or less. So we started thinking about, okay, if there is or will be soon a possibility to liquefy biogas, then maybe we should start thinking about business models, and if the way how LNG is applied or used, maybe there's something different, some other approach that would be better for the biogas or bio-LNG, which is much smaller amount, talking about local fuel production. And then we started thinking about business models and logistics and technology, because we knew that there are typical ESO containers, lorries transporting LNG from A to B, first with great vessels coming from LNG coming from Qatar or US, and then does it fit together? Yeah, does it fit the same technology and logistics systems and small scale LNG, bio LNG? And she said, maybe not necessary. And this was the starting point where we talked to several companies, to our potential project partners. Also, they are here as a partners, because we came to the point that we have started a project. But this was more or less the background, the genealogy of what we are doing. And moving on, we have defined some kind of background for our work. So let's say the framework, the navigation points that create for us a space for our work, for our activities. And what is even more interesting, there are several reports of famous companies like PricewaterhouseCoopers, for instance, where exactly small scale, even not nanoscale, but small scale LNG was mentioned as a potential market for the future, where nobody is focusing on. And as you understand, a small and micro and nanoscale LNG and bio LNG market is a niche. But from the discussion with our partners, with companies involved, and also Milan confirmed it fully that we are on the right track. Everybody says, well, one single potential user doesn't have any impact on the market. But if we count potentially thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of very teeny tiny users, then of course the whole picture changes a lot. And the reports and also results from our discussion with companies supplying, for instance, LNG from different countries of the world, from Egypt, from Nigeria, from India, from Indonesia, from US, all of them say that companies that want to approach this market should act quickly. Because the first one that will be on this market will be the winner, as with every market. And they said, yes, that's correct. This market is a niche, but a huge niche. Take, for example, Nigeria, 198 million people. And about 30% without regular access to energy source. It's exactly the same in all remote areas all over the world. And as Justin mentioned, that's true. Exactly because of the turbulent time nowadays, these people will be affected the most. Next point, bio-LNG is became one of the EU pillars for the decarbonization process. Methane strategy of the European Union says that we should use our capacity of bio-LNG or biogas and use this methane, this, let's say, given fuel, and use this in a much better way. For instance, if you, not many people know, but I suppose Shell published a report where it's saying that about the capacity of biogas or bio-LNG could cover about 60% or up to 60% of the demand of the all lorries, trucks on the using LNG as a fuel in Germany. Up to 60%. It's a huge market. And of course, direct use of bio-LNG or LNG, as opposed to traditional model of regasification, vaporizing, so transforming the LNG into gas form, requires completely different way of transmitting this to the grid, to the end users. And this requires also change of paradigm in thinking about the market, about logistics, about supply systems. Next point, the small scale market, and this is from one of the reports, is relatively immature, and the size of the market is expected to grow to approximately 100 million tons per year by 2030. If you look at the energy mix, how it changes, and what the foresight is saying or showing, biogas will grow rapidly and increase or gain its importance. And last but not least, the micro and nanoscale bio-LNG and LNG market is practically untapped. It's tabula rasa. So if everybody, just thinking about all these millions of people or users that need energy nowadays, could at least few percent of them would change the supply system, or let's say the way how they get energy, where they get energy from, to micro nanoscale bio-LNG and LNG technology, this would be a huge market. But it's important to unlock a new market. And all companies, LNG suppliers, they say more or less the same. Change of paradigm unlocked by a new technological solutions, addressing this new market with a focus on bio-LNG is a crucial point. While talking with the companies that approached us, and there were really many of them in Milan, they were amazed about what we are doing within the project, because they say, exactly, this is something that we were missing. There were so many people calling us and saying, hey, could you please deliver a bit of LNG, just like LPG, in a small bulk, and because we do not have access to the infrastructure, and they had to say, no, sorry, economically it doesn't make sense for us to go with a 40 feet ISO container. Decentralized solution for end users should be also, and of course including technology, can be a part of the process of the transforming the energy market. If we talk about bio-LNG, of course, we are talking about circular economy. Everybody is talking about circular economy nowadays. And it's absolutely fine. This is exactly what we should do. But how to do it? And with the using better absorption of bio-LNG, we could contribute to this goal. And the last point, which in my opinion, describes exactly what we are focusing on, is to make it happen, make it possible to produce fuel locally and use it locally or regionally. This would create additional added value for the local community, and this is something that we shouldn't underestimate in our discussion. And this is more or less our vision, imagination, how this kind of market should look like. LNG station or bio-LNG plant as a center, as a heart of the whole system, and with a micro nanoscale technology, the fuel, which means energy, should be delivered to the end user, so-called last mile. And these kind of users, like small manufacturing plants, and we know that there are such kind of solutions existing on the market. So small manufacturing plants, offices, maybe private homes, small boats or ships could be the end user. And this is something that we defined in the very beginning of our work. And we said, okay, if this is the situation, and this is more or less the circumstances where under we are living, then we should do something, and we found an answer. Liquid energy as a project. Of course, we will not solve all problems of this world, but we can contribute. We can contribute to the development of the market, to changing the behavior of the users, changing behavior of companies supplying LNG or dealing with LNG. And there are 8 partners from 8 project partners and 21 associated partners, which are also companies involved in the project, from Poland, Germany, Lithuania, Sweden, and France. That said, this is something that we should look into. And this is something that we could take as a starting point and move up to the next level in discussing about how we should live in the future, what is possible. And I truly believe, and I appreciate all kinds of new solutions and fuels like LNG, hydrogen, ammonia, windmills, renewable energy, photovoltaic. But I do not believe personally that there is only one and the best solution for, so let's say, one size for all. In my opinion, in the end of the day, there will be a patchwork of different solutions and fuels that work together to solve our problems, how to get energy. Because in the end of the day, the end users are not interested in technology, if it's hydrogen or LNG. They are interested in getting energy. And it's our role, as we are sitting here, and also companies, so business, academia, and also decision makers that we shouldn't forget, to make everything possible to unlock this kind of markets. I call it markets. And 8 partners with 21 associated partners developed an idea for a project. We have submitted application to the Interreg South Baltic program, and we got funded. So with a total budget of almost 2 million euro and ERDF contribution of almost 1.7 million. keeping in mind what I was explaining before, as a challenge, as a, let's say, our problem that we should address, we defined specific objectives that, of course, if you are talking about new market that doesn't exist, but everyone is saying that there is a potential market, but solutions, both technological and non-technological solutions, are missing, then we should focus or aim at creating a new products and services that could unlock this market. And this leads to the next point, that this is a unique character of between all other projects. We are mentioning to unlock this market and also show how this could be done. But of course, moving ahead, there are challenges. As I mentioned, technological and non-technological. In discussion with companies selling or delivering LNG, for instance, we heard so many times that there is no technology dedicated for this kind of market, this micro nanoscale LNG and bio-LNG. But there are also no non-technological solutions, talking about business models, talking about how to work, how to deal with this, how to behave, how to move within the legislative framework, for instance. So several years ago, as I mentioned, 8 years ago, we started thinking about biogas plants. Only just an example to show you that business and inventors are much ahead comparing to legislation and law. 8 years ago, there was a discussion, okay, biogas plants with liquefying module, if we combine it, for instance, with power to gas solution, like wind energy, then there was a question, is it still a plant that produces energy, or maybe it's a battery? Because we are using, then, let's say, renewable energy from wind to keep energy, to liquefy biogas. So, in this moment, we are not talking about energy production, we are talking about storage. So, is this a producing plant or a battery? And nobody could give us an answer. And nobody knew how to deal with this. And all these elements that I'm describing now lead us to the statement that there is a need for change of paradigm, with all consequences. The change of the business model is a must. The new supply system on the regional local level must be developed. If there is no system, there is no possibility to transport this from A to B. Downscaling of the transport and supply modes should be adapted to the situation and to the demand, real demand. And of course, there's a demand for new technical solutions. And all of this is a huge area where we said, okay, as a project, we want to contribute to solve these problems. And how to do this is very simple and very difficult in the same time. If you are talking about energy markets and energy business, we are swimming in the water that is very stable. It's very traditional business and very traditional market. And we are coming and saying, you should change. But unfortunately, we are just in time. Unfortunately, because of the situation in Europe, in Ukraine, and we have to adapt, and we are forced to adapt. So we want to, let's say, promote and show to the people, and this is our approach, because we all know the behavioral aspects of customers and the taking decision process on buying or not buying products. And we know that if you are talking about pure innovation, talking about technology and non-technology, this is very suspicious, and nobody knows how to deal. It's a new. I don't know it, and that's why we decided to go a very to take a very pragmatic way to convince people. So we said we want to show, then explain, and in the end of the day, discuss about what we are doing, what is possible solution, what is possible technology, how this should work, where are the bottlenecks, where are the chances. And to transfer this into the practice, we, as a project, which is unusual for Interreg program, we are implementing 4 pilot investments. The first one, the official premiere of the micro and nanoscale mobile LNG refueling station will take place tonight. The second is adjustments transforming engine of the small boat, small ship. You can see both or materials about both elements on our YouTube channel or website or LinkedIn. But thinking about the whole, let's say, added value channel, we are also preparing 2 pilot investments aiming at presenting the possible solutions in decentralized energy supply system. So micro grids cut off from the infrastructure, gas infrastructure. And these 2 are under development. The one will present a rather older technical solution. The new one will present modern fuel cell. But both of them could be potential solutions for everybody, for Mr. Smith. Some pictures about Magda 1 and some information about this small ship. And this pilot investment is implemented in Szczecin by our colleagues here. So you can see we are talking about old vessel that will be renewed and transformed into using LNG. And the second one is worldwide first mobile LNG refueling station on the micro nano scale that could be used either as a regular refueling station or as a milkman to exchange bulks. This investment was possible only because of the very innovative cryogenic bulk that was developed here in Rostock. And this is the first bulk that is vacuumless and steelless, but I will talk about this more tomorrow. So, in the end of the day, this kind of mobile refueling station could have about 900 liters, 450 kg on board, and into small vessels. I just touched a bit all aspects, elements that are important or let's say are a baseline for our work and our project. You can watch quite many materials, video materials, pictures, some interviews. You can follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And everybody also sitting there on the other side can take part in the discussion and ask questions. It's possible for Zoom. Next steps. As I said, two other pilot investments, decentralized energy supply systems. Next year, we are planning a next Liquid Energy Conference 2023 in Gdańsk, most probably May or June. And of course, within last period of the project, we are going to promote, to show to the people, potential users, potential organizations or businesses that could apply what we are developing, what we are working on. And this is something that is very important, to go to the people and to make them aware that there is a world beyond what we know nowadays. If you have any question, please ask. If not, you can go. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Pawel? Can give you the microphone. No one? Okay. So actually, I do have a question.
Oh.
Because I was listening. That doesn't mean you weren't listening, of course. I mean, you talked about a paradigm shift, and you mentioned about the non-technical and technical solutions. But my question simply is, what is, in your opinion, the biggest barrier to, or the largest barrier to overcome with regard to this necessary paradigm shift? Is there one that you could specifically say, this is the one?
Maybe I can say what is not.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Take it that way, yeah.
Definitely technology, technical solution or solutions is not a barrier. There are companies that are dealing with this. There are companies, we know, for instance, one company in West Java, in Indonesia, they're doing exactly, following the same, exactly this kind of business model. However, using old traditional technology and struggling with heavy bulks and so on. But definitely political framework, or let's say legal framework, is one of biggest barriers, bottlenecks. And of course, this, let's say, market entry phase for new technologies, for new markets, is something that could be a barrier. However, from the discussion with companies like Duon, PGNiG, and others, also Crowley, and in Indonesia, in Egypt, Nigerian LNG, for instance, they say, yes, we could apply this. This is exactly the solution that we're looking for. But in Europe, definitely, just give you just simple example. Talking about certification for bulks, cryogenic bulks for, or let's say vessels for LNG. If you look into the law, all regulations dedicated to LNG vessels or bulks have in the title for steel and vacuum. But there are new materials. Yeah, so of course this is something that is not the real challenge, because we are talking also to certifying authorities, how they look, how they see this challenge, and of course they say yes, you can overcome this barrier, but this very stable the process to accept to create a legal framework can be a barrier.
Fine. Yeah. Good. But don't go, because I still have one more question. Sorry. We do have time. We are still ahead. You mentioned through your presentation, and you just mentioned now about companies and how open companies are to this, to this paradigm shift, to becoming on board, as it were. In your experience with the project, what has been the political response, the decision makers? How have they been receptive, skeptical? Maybe you could just say something about the political response that you've come across.
There was no political response.
Was there a question for their involvement?
Not at this stage.
Not at this stage. Okay.
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. We were talking to political decision makers, to a few of them, and of course they say yes. But as I said, at the moment they are busy with other issues, talking about energy. And of course, what we are doing is some kind of contribution to the process, but we are not the mainstream. Yeah, and this is fully understandable that they focus at the moment on different things. But as I said, the driving force for changes are companies, and in the same time, European regulations. So there is something for the regional or national political decision makers. This is a classical situation where they are under pressure coming from bottom up and top down. And on the one hand, they have to change the whole system towards green economy, decarbonization, etc., etc. And on the other hand, the companies that are working on and thinking on the very practical level, how to deliver, because let's face a fact, if we are talking about living and phasing out from fossil fuels, for big companies like Shell, BP, Total, and others, this is a dramatic situation to think about changing significant changing of business model. So I know from the discussing that in Brussels at the moment there are very intensive discussions about how to deal with this. How the market will change. Maybe Hans-Peter will talk more about this. But of course, even for the big players, global players, this situation is completely new, and it's putting upside down the whole business model. And this is, I suppose, also a challenge.
Yeah, sure. Great. Thank you very much, Pawel. Very informative, giving an overview. No, I have no more questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.